Good morning. My name is Aaron Hunt, a partner at Stace Hammond, and today is 14th of May 2020. Today is the day that New Zealand moves down into Alert Level 2. Of course, with the move to the new Alert Level, there are new procedures that have come into place. They come into place on Level 3, but we're going to see them more and more often out there in a way to help the country to continue to sort of flatten that curve and make sure that there doesn't get any more bumps going up. The biggest one that you're going to see as you get out there into the real world, I suppose we can call it, is contact tracing. Now, this is where a business keeps a record of the people that have been on its premises. So if another infection was to be found, then information will allow the Ministry of Health to track who may have been in contact with the affected person, who may have been to premises after they had been there, because, of course, as you know, SARS-CoV-2 can exist on services for several days. Now, specifically, the business will be recording or asking you to provide your name, your contact details, of course, when you were there. Now, as an individual, this is classified as personal information, and it's information which is covered under the Privacy Act. Now, issues may arise if the business use of the information is called into question. Now, ideally, there will be some sign or printed notice confirming what the information will be used for. Now, while it may not be strictly required, and we'll come to that below, we recommend that our clients are upfront and clarify the purpose for which the information is being collected. So for personal information given for contact tracing, we recommend that it is recorded just for that purpose, to provide to the Ministry of Health if the affected person was believed to be on the premises. This is the public perception that people will have as to why the information is being provided, and unless clearly stated otherwise, is the only use that it should have. Now, under the Act, personal information provided for a purpose can only be used for the purpose stated, with, of course, some particular exceptions provided for in the Act. Now, while we encourage clients to be clear and open about what personal information is being used for, with contact tracing, there isn't a need to give the reason. And this is due to one of those exceptions. The Information Privacy Principle 10 states that information can be used for another purpose if the information holder believes that the use of information for that purpose is necessary to prevent or lessen a serious threat to public health or public safety, or the health of individual concerned or another individual. So while the information has been provided for the purpose of contact tracing, there is also an exception in the Act which allows it to be used for another purpose. So here, contact tracing, use for that purpose, that is fine. Now, it means that it also would cover information gained from other applications or other ways of knowing people were in contact, such as a food ordering application, where the details have been recorded when you ordered the food and went to collect it. Now, the information there, of course, wasn't actually collected for the purpose of contact tracing, but under Principle 10, it can be used for that purpose. Now, the Privacy Commissioner has confirmed this use and that principle being relevant in the current pandemic, and that it can be used for that purpose. So now, businesses should still be cautious about using personal information gathered by contact tracing for any other purpose. So if customers aren't provided with details as to what personal information will be used for, then it should be limited to just contact tracing, because that is why they are giving it. And even then, be cautious as to how it is used, and only give it to a government-directed body who need it for the reason given. If you do provide wording about what it will be used for, we recommend against using such information for advertising to the customer unless this is made very, very clear. If you did want to use that information for future marketing, then we recommend having a tick box allowing the customer to opt in for such marketing. So with the stress people are currently under, we believe that a company would likely attract some adverse media coverage if it was found that the required contact information that they were being provided was being used for marketing for their own gain. I think the damage that such media attention would cause would likely outweigh any benefit you would gain. So if you did want to keep in contact with the customers, then we recommend including a tick box, ask them to confirm if they want changes or information about specials would be a much safer approach. Of course, any other use of the personal information beyond just marketing would also certainly be unlawful. A recent example we had was a worker who allegedly used the personal information provided to contact a customer he was attracted to. This is clearly beyond the purpose for which the information was provided, which was for contact tracing. For that purpose, businesses need to ensure that their staff are aware of the private nature of this information, that it should be kept safe at all times and not used for any reason other than for contact tracing if required by Ministry of Health. Now, throughout all of this, of course, all the other provisions of the Privacy Act continue to apply as this is personal information being collected. This includes a person's right to access the information and correct that information. However, such requests may in certain situations be refused under Section 29(2) of the Act if the information is not readily available. So a good example here is if your premises has thousands of pages of handwritten details from customers, and someone says, hey, I was in your store, I want to see what information you have about me. Now, unless they can give you the exact date and time they were there, and it's sort of, your pages are held chronologically, it's going to be very difficult to try and find the pages they are on. So you would have a ground, we believe, there to refuse under the Act. But it's one of those things we find it very unlikely that request will come through, but it's a strange time, so who knows. Now, this little video and article covers just a few small items from the Privacy Act, things that are sort of being brought to the forefront with contact tracing. Of course, there are many other things to consider, including the upcoming changes to the Act, which come into place at the start of next year. We're going to cover those in future videos and future articles. In the meantime, feel free to contact us with your questions. If you have any questions about this, any help with a privacy policy, or a request that you may have received under the Act. Remember to like this video, subscribe to it if you want to hear any more from our ProAct series. We do have a link in the description below which will allow you to sign up and be notified about any future articles. And until then, stay safe and kia kaha.